Deltarune's chapters 3 and 4 are finally here! Now, I only have the time right now to play chapter 3, I'll be playing chapter 4 later, so expect a review of that tomorrow. There's going to be some spoilers, because you kind of have to talk about the story. Oh my god, chapter 3, what a wild rush. So, of course, this time, what with the Dark Fountain being opened up in the living room, this one actually has to do with the TV, hinted by the marathon that Susie had wanted to have in Chapter 2. And the main villain of this chapter is Tenna, and Tenna was a rush. Tenna is animated in this pseudo 3D style similar to games like Donkey Kong Country. They're desperate to get your attention because their whole thing is that the world is moving on. You know, everyone's growing up and not going to this one living room to watch TV shows like they used to. You know, Azriel's going off to college to get education. Noelle's family all are off doing different things. The only person who's probably still just watching the TV on the regular is Toriel watching reruns. And it's left them feeling extremely insecure. They desperately want you to pay more attention to them, to spend time with them again. And the Knights told them that they can absolutely have that as long as they just keep you there forever, basically. This leads to a series of weird little mini games throughout. This is easily the least battle heavy chapter so far, as a lot of the gameplay focuses on mini games. There's quizzes that you have to answer. There's all these little things here and there, like a shooting mini game, this Legend of Zelda style experience where you have to puzzle solve. There's a cooking mini game where you have to dodge the fire. And at first I was a little bit off-put by just how different the experience was. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting when I was launching up Deltarune. But to tell you the truth, the longer that the experience went on, the more I warmed myself up to it. It was a fun experience, and the nightmarish turn it takes once you make it clear that you do not want to stick around is brilliant stuff. They really do make the most of the gimmick for this chapter, as even when you get into the final fight, the TV channel keeps changing, forcing you to quickly jump between all the different minigames you've been playing throughout. The graphics are always amazing. Like, the usual 2D sprite work is great. You get to see, because of the TV aesthetic, you get to see the main trio in all these different outfits, you know, just across these different channels and these different mini games. The gameplay front is, of course, a lot of fun. There's also the fact, you know, Tenna's 3D sprite work, which at first was really off-putting, but I think that's kind of the idea. Like, it is very unique, I'll say that much. And you do eventually get used to it with time, but my goodness, does it make Tenna seem off-putting. It reminds me of, like, I don't know, when I was younger, you know, I have a giant CRT, well, I say giant, it's giant to me anyway, CRT TV that I still have, and when I was a kid, it was always off-putting, so really good. And they have, like, a whole VHS intro thing as well. Like, there's just so much going on in this. And then there's of course other little characters as well. The couple designed by now look great, and oh my god, Rules Card ruins everything he touches. But it was that was another fun bit as well. The battle with him had its own unique take that made it just a blast to play through. As in this chapter, there was a thing where all of the options got changed to act, which actually did throw in some crazy wildcards that I wasn't really expecting. Now the ultimate twist, and this is when we get into heavy spoiler territory. Throughout the chapter, you end up with a situation where Ralsei is saying about how, guys, we're not real. Like, you know, we're created essentially by your imagination in the darkness, or what Ralsei's saying is that how real they are is flimsy at best. Like, once you get a little bit of light, their world ceases to exist, and so do they. And Ralsei's trying to be like, it's okay, you know, that's fine. And Susie, of course, is downtrodden by that because Ralsei's become a very close friend to her and Chris. So when it all culminates in Tenna desperately wanting to not be forgotten, not to be thrown out, because nobody's watching the TV anymore, Ralsei at first goes with the approach of, hey, it's okay if you get thrown out, kind of have to be eventually. And then you have Susie on the other end being like, hey, I know what it's like to be discarded, to think that there's no hope for me. And you don't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be the end. There will be someone out there for you. And I'm thinking, oh, great, they're gonna look really weird in my, castle town, but hey, I'll happily put them in. Don't know what their interactions with the king and queen are gonna be like, but I'm up for it. And then Tenna gets killed by the Roaring Knight. Suddenly that throws a whole series of questions in. Hang on, the Roaring Knight. Now, I don't know what to think of this. I still think that the Roaring Knight has something to do with Chris, but I can't say for sure. The Roaring Knight is a battle you cannot win, and honestly, it completely throws a spanner in the works. Now, I don't know what is happening. There's 2 Dark Worlds because Susie goes off to close the previous Dark Fountain, but you stick around, and the chapter ends right as the door opens. Undyne gets kidnapped. I completely forgot to mention that. Undyne gets kidnapped. What is going on? I've been worried throughout every chapter that it's the moment where everything's going to get dark and bleak. This seems the most likely point where that's going to start happening. I don't think it's going to get completely bleak. It's Deltarune. It's been even in the darker moments, they seem to have some jovial nature to it. Maybe chapter 4 is going to be seriously dark. I don't know just yet. I'm going to be jumping into that tomorrow. But, oh my god. I can't recommend this enough. Please get the game. There's so much that I want to dive into. There's so many questions that I need to have answered. And I cannot wait to play chapter 4. Also, when you're, turning against Tenna, for some reason, the ones that turn to stone are all the TV people. That's crazy to me. That throws in some whole other sense of implications. Why is it that the people who are from this dark world are the ones turning to stone? What's going on here? Is it because they're not toys? Is it because they're not, because when I was interacting with one of the characters, it mentioned that it was a plug. It wasn't meant to be played with, but Chris used to when they were a kid. Is that why? There's so many questions that this chapter has raised. Please, please, please check out Deltarune if you haven't already. This is an incredible chapter. Like I said, it's got less battles than usual, but I think all the different mini games and stuff that they added in helps to create this chapter's own sense of identity. The fact that they pulled the rug out from under me, I'm still reeling from that. And I don't know what's going to happen here. I get the idea is about nostalgia, growing up, and I'm assuming just not losing sight of what you held onto so dearly when you were younger, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Oh my god, edit this in at some point. Of course, the music is a banger, the graphics are bangers. I got so caught up on the story, I completely forgot to add these bits in. Yeah, the music as always is brilliant. Kind of nervous about what chapter 4 is going to bring, and you'll have to hear about my thoughts on that tomorrow, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video, please, to show your support.